tomorrow, there will be a gathering of Kansas UUs to learn about the Vote No campaign, the campaign to vote no against the upcoming constitutional amendment. The amendment would open the way for our legislature to outlaw abortion. So Kansans from across the state will be gathering on Zoom, and you, Kansan UUs, and you're welcome to join us. The link is available through our email, and if you're not receiving that, let me know, I'll get it to you. Next Sunday, there will be an event led by Interfaith, religious leaders and spiritual leaders from across Manhattan to talk about religious perspectives on reproductive justice. So I'm really excited about that. That will be on Zoom a week from today. And we have t-shirts. They are over there. I'll hold them up after our service. If you're a member or friend of the congregation and would like a t-shirt, you are welcome to one. You can donate, but the best donation you can give for this t-shirt is to wear it out in the world. Okay, a final announcement. This afternoon, right here, and also on Zoom, we will be showing the film, The Doctrine of Discovery, Stolen Lands, Strong Hearts. It is history and insights shared by Indigenous Canadians, and it's a must-see for all in learning the truths of the land of this continent, which is a focus of our fellowship. So that's a good segue into our land acknowledgement. This is the time in the service set aside to presence the needs of the land upon which we gather and its human descendants, many of whom now live elsewhere. The state of Kansas is historically home to many Native nations, including the Kaw, Osage, and Pawnee, among others. It's the current home to 4 federally recognized Native nations: the Prairie Band Potawatomi, the Kickapoo Tribe of Kansas, the Iowa Tribe of Kansas and Nebraska, and Sac and Fox Nation of Missouri in Kansas and Nebraska. We are still building the capacity for authentic relationships with our Indigenous neighbors, to honor and embody the truths that need to be known about their histories and their resilience. The film this afternoon is one part of our growing commitment to learn and heal. So I'm going to invite you into a moment of silence to feel or set the intention to feel a longing for the well-being of our Indigenous siblings across North America and the world, and all our relations. May it be so. So I wonder, Chris, actually, would you be willing to light our chalice? These words are Out of the Flames by Sarah Eileen Lawal. Out of the flames of fear, we rise with courage of our deepest convictions to stand for justice, inclusion, and peace. Out of the flames of scrutiny, we rise to proclaim our faith with hope to heal a fractured and hurting world. Out of the flames of doubt, we rise to embrace the mystery, wonder, and awe of all there is and all that is yet to be. Out of the flames of hate, We rise with the force of love, love that celebrates our shared humanity. Out of the flames we rise. So now I'd like to invite the young and the young at heart and our Director of Religious Education, Sandy, forward. We will be having a story as our time for all ages.
I have to be smarter than the microphone. Oh, I did it. How are we doing? Somebody told me that today the adults are going to talk about hope. And I thought this story was a good one. I just have to figure out how to do this. It's called The Most Magnificent Thing by Ashley Spires. Is that me or you? This is a regular girl, and her best friend in the whole wide world. Is your best friend a dog? Yeah. They do all kinds of things together. They race, they eat, they explore, they relax. She makes things. He unmakes things. One day, the girl has a wonderful idea. She is going to make the most magnificent thing. She knows just how it will look. She knows just how it will work. All she has to do is make it. And she makes things all the time. Easy peasy. First, she hires an assistant. Next, they gather their supplies. They set up somewhere out of the way and get to work. She did, that's so cool. The girl tinkers and hammers and measures while her assistant pounces and growls and chews. When she is finished, oh dear, she steps back to admire her work. She walks around one way, one side, and her assistant examines. Maybe I should move, huh? The assistant examines it. It just doesn't look right. Her assistant picks it up and gives it a shake, and it's not right. They are shocked to discover that the thing isn't magnificent or good. It isn't even kind of sort of okay. It's all wrong. The girl tosses it aside and gives it another go. She smooths and wrenches and fiddles, and her assistant circles and tugs and wags. When she is finished, she stands up and takes a long look at it. Her assistant gives a nudge with his paw. The thing is still wrong. She decides to try again. The girl saws and glues and adjusts. She stands and examines and stares. She twists and fixes and straightens. She fixes and fixes and studies. Should have brought my glasses. She tries all different ways to make it better. She makes it square. She makes it round. She gives it legs. Legs? She adds antenna. She makes it fuzzy. She makes it long, short, rough, smooth, big, small. One even smells of stinky cheese, but none of them are magnificent. Her hard work attracts some followers and admirers, but they don't understand. They can't see the magnificent thing that she has in her mind. She gets mad. The angrier she gets, the faster she works. She smashes pieces into shape. She jams parts together. She pummels the little bits in. Her hands feel too big to work, and her brain is too full of all the not right things. If only the thing would just work. Crunch! Oh. Yeah, you'd think, but we have hope. The pain starts in her finger. It rushes up to her brain, and she explodes. It is not her finest moment. I'm no good at this. I quit. Her assistant suggests a walk. Has anybody ever suggested to you guys to just shake it off, take a walk? Yeah, moms are smart. Oh. It's not much help at first, but before long, she starts to feel different. Bit by bit, the mad gets pushed out of her brain. As they stroll along, she comes across the first wrong thing she made. The bad feelings are about to start all over again. Then she notices something surprising. There are some parts of the wrong things that are really quite right. The bolts on some, the shape on another, the wheel to seat ratio of another. There are all sorts of parts that she liked. By the time she reaches the end of the trail, she finally knows how to make the thing magnificent. She gets to work. She works carefully and slowly, tinkering, hammering, twisting, folding, gluing, painting. Her assistant makes sure there are no distractions. Those are people saying, oh, you know, this thing here is good for something else. The afternoon fades into evening. Finally, she finishes. She alerts her assistant. The pair take a good long look. It leans a little to the left, and it's a bit heavier than they expected. The color could use a bit of work too, but it's just what she wanted. They climb aboard and take it for a spin. They are not disappointed. it really is the most magnificent thing. It's a side cart. Isn't that cool? Did she give up when something bad happened? No.
Thank you. Thank you, Miss Sandy. Here at UUFM, the offering we receive on Sunday morning goes to a special organization each month. This month, our Helping Hands recipient is the Guardians. You can donate online later this week when our website is back up, or you can leave your offering in the basket at the back. I'd also like to invite you to use this time to share your joys and sorrows this week. You can write on the paper that is near the chairs, near your chair. There are also a couple back there near the basket. And if you're joining us online, you're welcome to use the chat to type your joys and sorrows, and Linda will read them later. Our offering this morning is by Sam DeLong. Let's see, if you have a joy or a sorrow to share, will you hold it up? Larry, would you be willing to get those for me? Thank you. We've come to the time in the service when we share our burdens and amplify our celebrations. Let us call up a spirit of generosity, vulnerability, courage, and compassion as we listen to what has been shared. Here on Zinedale Road, we're a joyful group, those who have written things to share. From Karen Hummel, my joy is that my brother and sister, Larry and Jerry Carey, are visiting and are here at UU this morning. Welcome. Kathy Swenson's joy is the dedication of so many of us writing Vote No postcards. And welcome to Justin, who was here to help and now came this morning to visit. And a joy from Dick and Sylvia. Our daughter Irene and her family are visiting from Montreal. We have Irene, her partner Philippe, and their kids Safyan, Nev, Adele, and Leon, all here this morning. We're so glad to have you. So, Linda, are there any joys that came in on the chat?
Yes, there are. Judy Nicholson says she is thankful that the new AV equipment is being installed this week. And Les Loshke says, Mickey and I got to spend some joyful times with our granddaughter, Amelie, and our daughter, Althea, and our son-in-law, Chris, in Boston. And for myself, Roger and I are expecting our daughter from North Carolina to arrive on Wednesday and spend a week with us. We also have some concerns.
Please go ahead.
Okay. Anna Franklin says, my concern for today is I have 4 days to finish packing and feel overwhelmed with the amount still to do, though I suppose it's normal to feel that way when doing the job and finally seeing how much stuff one has accumulated. And my joy today is the wonderful friends who have stepped up to lighten my load and take things away. For UU community, I am very grateful. And for anyone interested, I have many beautiful books about yoga from every perspective that I will not be taking with me. So I have put these in my front hallway for anyone who wants them. And Rob Morrison reports that he and Emily are saddened to share that their beloved cat, Artie, unexpectedly died at the vet in a routine visit about a week ago, and they miss him very much. And then Kathy Swenson, or Dan Swenson, I guess it is, on Zoom, reports a sorrow and small joy. Related to this afternoon, Pope Francis will travel to Canada to apologize for the church's role in residential schools that tried to erase Indigenous culture and where thousands of children died. And that's the end.
Thank you, Linda. Please join me for a moment of silence as we honor the joys and sorrows that have been shared and those that remain quietly within our hearts. Well, I now have the joy of introducing my colleague, the Rev Joe Rettenmaier, who I knew when I lived in Seattle, which is where he still is. But Joe was born, raised, and educated in in Kansas. So he's from near here. In midlife, he received his M.Div from Meadville Lombard Theological School. Previous to his recent years in ministry, he devoted his professional life to developing and managing communications for corporate and nonprofit organizations throughout the Salish Sea region of Washington state. These affinities for developing beloved community experiences continue to influence his ministry of liberating Earth from climate change, cultural oppression, racial supremacy, and more. And so I invite forward Reverend Joe onto our screen.
Well, thank you, Isabel. It is so good to be with you all and to be virtually in Kansas, though I'm not there in person. Wonderful to be back close to the Flint Hills and beloveds as a feminist, raised and introduced to this world right there in Kansas by my feminist mother, my sisters, my sister friends. I am walking alongside you after last month's Supreme Court decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. And I want to say to our siblings in the spirit of life who can give birth to children, we love you. In this weekly sacred gathering, where we honor all the goodness of our humanity, our souls have been reeling as we suffer this tragedy of law. In person, online, have you, like me, been struggling to get to the root of your moral outrage after this tragic choice by the Supreme Court of our democracy? It is a painful confluence of feelings for all of us as we all now prepare, and you all prepare after this legal tragedy, to be the first state to either amend or defend your constitutional right to make your own healthcare choices, to either allow or prevent the state from forcing an unwanted pregnancy. Beloveds, Kansans, you are in the new dawn of justice after our Supreme Court's tragedy of justice. And in this blessed community, you are safe. You are loved. You are supported, and you are not alone in your suffering. In this beloved community, it's tragedies like this that compel us to gather and share sources of wisdom and hope. And that is the most magnificent thing. Thank you, Sandy. Prophets and leaders who we have turned to in the past to help us summon our spiritual strength time and time again, despite setbacks, injustice, in that most magnificent thing we are all working so hard to make manifest. So, in my recollection of wise and brilliant sources of justice in these weeks, I've been led back to a teacher and prophet, the Honorable John Lewis. As one powerful soul among many who witnessed and suffered extraordinary tragedy in this land, Lewis came to understand tragedy's injustice this way. Tragedy is the great equalizer, and no individual, regardless of wealth or fame, can escape the challenge tragedy brings. If one primary purpose in our lives is to cast off all illusions and awaken to the eternal knowledge of what is truly real, then tragedy can be viewed as an equal opportunity aid to our development. The problems we face in the trials of our lives, whether we are standing in protest against injustice or fighting cancer, battling addictions or bankruptcy, and let me personally add, struggling to openly love whom we want, battling to express our soul's gender, fighting to take care of our health and bodies and lives how we see fit. Back to John Lewis. Our problems can help each of us grow beyond our personal limits. Our problems initiate a struggle within our own souls that take us to the brink of our own experience. As we command our spirit to find a way to overcome these obstacles, we are forced to break past any false trappings and focus intensely on what is real and what is truly important. Thank you, John Lewis. So, to summarize a bit, tragedy is the great equalizer, taking us to the brink of our own experience as we command our spirit to overcome these obstacles and break past any false trappings. Friends, I find hope in Lewis's call to the long view of humanity's struggles in the face of the tragedies that we cause. That long view can help soothe our souls as we struggle to make sense of how to right the wrong. And there it is. Thank goodness, our constant, gritty hope is there. The hope that we are able to build that most magnificent thing, to turn tragedy into transformation. Because the truth, beloveds, is that humankind always has. From the personal to the communal to the practical. As I've meditated on John Lewis's revelations, I've found myself called to another source of wisdom who helped turn tragedy into transformation and into a movement. Beginning in the early 1960s, Venerable Thich Nhat Hanh lived as a Vietnamese Tien Buddhist monk and peace activist and prolific author. He shaped and led a new movement in his beloved Vietnam known as engaged Buddhism. He did this spiritual and moral work in response to his nation's political, cultural polarization and conflicts. And in 1966, he was exiled from his ancestral homeland for his opposition to the war. So in exile, Nhat Hanh's gritty, constant hope did not wane. He established dozens of monasteries and practice centers from his new home in France. And during a 1966 visit to the United States, Nhat Hanh met with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and urged him to publicly denounce the Vietnam War. The following year, in 1967, King preached his first sermon to publicly question US involvement in Vietnam, and he nominated Nhat Hanh for the Nobel Peace Prize, saying, quote, "I do not personally know of anyone more worthy of the Nobel Peace Prize than this gentle monk from Vietnam. His ideas for peace, if applied, would build a monument to ecumenism, to world brotherhood, to humanity," end quote. A true source of wisdom. Recently, I also watched an interview with Alexis McGill Johnson, who is the president and CEO of Planned Parenthood Federation of America. And in the interview, only hours after the Supreme Court's decision had been handed down, she too struggled to find hope. As she courageously tried to offer words of hope in that national news hour moment, she focused on what to do next, right? Where to turn our liberation work now, even in grief and staggering setbacks. Her everlasting hope for keeping the movement moving keeps her going. Well, we too find hope in movements. Yes, friends? Not just the law-making movements that lay before us in our beloved Kansas, but faith in humanity's moral movements that have helped turn tragedy into transformation. So friends, if you are aching to take action, I do invite you to visit our UUA's sidewithlove.org website. It's being kept up to date with immediate actions that you can take alongside others to keep the movement moving. And I know that your congregation itself has taken initiative with this. sidewithlove.org. And the most magnificent thing is that we're going to need our spiritual strength for the work ahead, beloveds. We're going to need our loving welcome, our agape, our metta, or loving kindness, as we move forward. And agape, metta, loving kindness begins by tending to our own soul's well-being. Thich Nhat Hanh's Dharma talks can aid us with this. So first, let me refresh our memories on a few terms. The Dharma in Buddhism is the overall morals, ethics, and practices that are Buddhism. The Dharma is shared between practitioners through in-person, informal talks, not unlike what we're doing here today. And another term that the Buddha taught at length is dukkha. And dukkha is usually translated from Pali into English as suffering. But the English, this is what I found, the English and Western concept that we carry about suffering is too rooted in Christian notions of crucifixion and persecution. So the English word suffering does not convey the nuances of dukkha's cultural contexts. A more accurate translation of dukkha is life does not satisfy. So every human on earth experiences and acts out cravings. Yes, craving something outside ourselves. And the Buddha enlightened our understanding that living as a human being means we experience pain from the unavoidable stresses of being alive. Stresses like just growing old or battling illness and pandemics, or heck, even legal decisions that strip us of our human rights, right? Every single human alive experiences stress or dissatisfaction or suffering as a result of life's stresses, such as the pain of failing to get what we want, of losing what we hold dear. And Buddha taught that this existential angst is unavoidable because our beautiful human souls do have to live a conditioned existence, conditioned by our family's expectations of us, our society's expectations, our culture's expectations, our social classes' expectations, etc. So because of this, every single human alive goes through life grasping or clinging to what we think will gratify us and avoiding what we believe will not. Years ago, Nhat Hanh answered a student's question during a Dharma talk. How can I stay present in the moment when the present moment feels unbearable? And Nhat Hanh shared his approach to engaging in the present moment with love, compassion, and action, his engaged Buddhism. He teaches that when you come home to the breath, you can bring your mind home and establish the present moment. In moments of outrage or stress, we have painful feelings. Painful feelings are just as normal as happy feelings, just as normal. Most people try to run away from a painful feeling, pretending it's not there within them. So no one is there to care for the painful feeling, and we leave the present moment. But even though our feelings in a present moment may feel unbearable, they also provide a way to generate well-being, to loosen feeling, calm it, and transform it. Most of us don't do that, friends. The vast majority of us are afraid that when we come home to our breath, ourselves, and our painful feelings, we'll be overwhelmed by suffering. Instead, we will choose to dream of something in the future, or to ruminate about something in the past, or to blame someone outside of ourselves. But the past and the future and the blame, they are images, not reality. We usually try to get away from painful feelings by practicing consumption, right? Consuming social media, television, video games, movies, material goods, finding something to eat or drink. We all do this because we hope the distraction will help us avoid the truth that these externals of human living do not satisfy our soul's cravings. Nhat Hanh teaches the simple practice of mindfulness this way. When you think the present moment is not pleasant, come home to yourself in that moment by focusing your mind on your breath. When you choose to look inside at what pains you, what isn't satisfying you, even if you only have a minute or two during your days, in a few minutes of mindful breath, you calm down. And if you have others practicing this with you, like us gathered here today, you all benefit, generating collective compassion. Nhat Hanh goes on to engage this experience with action. When you practice coming home to your breath and gently turn your focus toward those painful emotions, you come to know how your life does not satisfy. You come to know how you suffer. And you begin suffering less. Making it a practice, a daily or routine practice to take moments, minutes, however long you care to breathe and focus on what's stressing and dissatisfying your soul, brings about your understanding of your dukkha, and understanding suffering or dissatisfaction within you, you suffer less. When you suffer less, you experience healing, and compassion can grow. When you turn off thinking and come home to your breath, your compassion grows. You're able to be more present to the people who happen to be around you in that moment, present to events happening around you. As you learn to suffer your awareness that life does not satisfy less, you're more able to act on the present moment's truths and needs to help other people do the same. You want to feel useful in the moment, yes? So you act on helping other people because they, like you, experience external distractions as not satisfying. And the flow of understanding doesn't end there. When you mindfully generate compassion about the situations outside of you, you begin to not mind being in difficult situations. When you have enough compassion within you, you feel protected, not overwhelmed by the collective energy, the collective joy, the collective suffering of people around you. Finally, friends, I want to share with you a beautiful metaphor that Nhat Hanh teaches. The lotus flower, one of the most beautiful miracles of flowering life, cannot grow and put forth its beautiful bud and bloom, or its enormous circular floating leaves, without first sending its roots deep down into the muddy muck surrounding it. So developing compassion, beauty, loving kindness unfolds when you make nourishing use of the muck of suffering, when you make nourishing use of it. The muck of life's externals, which will not satisfy your beautiful, blooming soul. Friends, take a deep breath with me, would you please? Just a deep breath in and out. So friends, enough talking and listening. I want to invite you now into a little bit of mindfulness practice alongside one another. This is such a precious opportunity this morning as we are gathered. So please, wherever you are, make yourself comfortable, lengthen your spine and relax. Relax your shoulders, your neck. And I especially invite you to let your eyes close. Just turn off sight for the next few minutes as you bring your focus within. 3 deep breaths. Let's take 3 deep breaths together. Breath in and out. Deep breath in, filling up our rib cage and abdomen, and deep breath out. Once more, deep breath in, and all the way out. And now let's just relax into normal breathing together. Just let go. We'll just breathe and be together for a few minutes here, coming home to the breath. Noticing the textures and the feel of just our normal breathing. Thoughts come into our mind. Oh, there's one, just let it go. The breath continues. Normal breath. We feel ourselves coming home. A life-giving breath. I'm going to offer a few affirmations now, friends, and I invite you to hear these as your own voice. as we just continue our normal breathing together. Easy breathing. I am safe in this moment. In the long view, tragedies equalize us and transform us. And I am safe. I am one human, and I am beautiful. Painful emotions are normal and communal. Hope is constant and communal. I am learning to suffer my suffering less. My compassion is blooming. I am love. May it be so, beloveds.
May it be so. So let's close our formal service and we'll prepare for a brief conversation. You're welcome to share reflections or ask Reverend Joe questions. But we'll close our service and extinguish our chalice with these words from Reverend Joe.
Our hearts continue to bloom, beloveds. Our hearts continue to be fueled by the flame of our commitment to that most magnificent thing: justice, equity, compassion, and the transformational power of our love. May it be so.